In hypothesis testing, we have two types of hypothesis tests. There are parametric tests and there are non-parametric tests. Whenever you are asked a question, you have to ask a question that how much is the given value or variable. If how much question applies, that means that you have to apply parametric tests. If you ask a question of how many and the question seems legible, then you have to apply non-parametric test. Now I'll explain in a bit what I mean by this, but please also remember that it is also called categorical. It is also useful for categorical data as well as proportional data. Now imagine there was a hospital where 5 babies were followed up for their birth weight, and they were later used for research purposes. There were two types of research that were conducted. One research asked the question of how much was the average weight of these babies, and you found out how to calculate the mean, and the mean gave you some value which was in decimals. Now it might also be in whole number value, but for this research it was in decimal number. Another research question was how many babies were LBW. Now LBW is a category which includes all the babies who were under the weight of 2.5 kg. In this we can see that there were two babies who had weight of less than 2.5 kg. So the answer to that would be 2, which is a whole number. You can take any of the categories: low birth weight, very low birth weight, or high, birth weight more than expected. All of these categories will give you a whole number, and whenever there is a question of how many, you will always have to apply non-parametric test, while in this scenario you will apply parametric tests. So now we will take a look at some examples to strengthen the idea that we have explored above. So here are the examples. First is test whether there is a significant difference in the proportion of people who believe in the God versus those who do not believe in God. Now you are given this table in the question where 5 people say that they do believe in God and 7 people say they do not believe in God. So you have to identify if there is a significant difference between these two. So as you can see, these two are the number of people, and if you ask the question of whether there were how many people or how much people, you can make sense of how many people, but how much people doesn't make any sense. So this is a non-parametric test applicable problem. You will have to apply one of the non-parametric tests that we will explore after this. Second example is test whether there is a significant difference in the temperature between control group and group that received paracetamol 650 mg. Now there were two groups. One was control group, which received only a placebo, and test group, which received paracetamol. The decrease in the temperature was noted, and this one is for control group, this one is for test group, and you have to find whether there was a significant difference in between these two. Now as you can see, if you ask a question of how much temperature was reduced after test dose, then it makes sense. That's why it will be parametric. You cannot ask how many temperature was reduced, so non-parametric will not be applicable here. Next we have types of parametric tests and non-parametric tests. So first of all, we'll take a look at parametric test. You will have sample size of more than 30, then you will use C test. It is also called as P test. We will see how to calculate Z value and P value in subsequent lectures, but for now, comparison of sample mean with that of population mean is when we will use C test. We will also see what is sample mean and what is population mean and examples of it in the video itself. Second is T test. T test is to be used in sample size less than 30, but it can also be used in sample size more than 30 for practical purposes. Comparison of two sample means. Whenever there is a situation where you have to compare two sample means with the standard deviation given, you have to use T test. Next is F test, also known as ANOVA. There are many types of ANOVA. Most of the time you will only have to encounter with one-way ANOVA. We will see what is ANOVA, one-way ANOVA, two-way ANOVA, and multivariate ANOVA. So whenever there is more than 3 samples given and you have to compare their variances, you will use F test, also known as ANOVA. Now coming to non-parametric tests, there is a chi-square test, and there are other tests. These tests are not very important for our medical school purpose, but you can remember their names only. Chi-square test is the one that we will see in detail. So whenever you are given a situation where you are given proportions or number of individuals or any percentages, you will use chi-square test. So it is used for any research problem that can be answered by how many, as we saw above, and it is a type of non-parametric test.